Well, she was a guest on this program last week, and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith would like to build a pipeline to the West Coast, and that has been met with a lot of criticism from all corners of this province. Not everybody hates the idea, though, including our next guest. Dale Swampy is a member of the Samson Cree Nation in Musqueam in Alberta. He is the founder and president of the National Coalition of Chiefs. That is a First Nations group that is in favor of oil and gas development, and Dale's been good enough to join us this morning. Good morning to you, Dale.
Good morning.
Thanks very much for taking the time. We appreciate it. What is it about this pipeline proposal that has garnered your support?
Well, we've maintained support for the project ever since we were conceived back in 2017, just after Trudeau canceled the project on November 26, 2016. We had 31 of the 40 communities signed on as owners of the pipeline, and they were set to get $2 billion in benefits from the project over 30 years. So you can imagine the frustration they had when Trudeau canceled the project. Of course, the project was delayed by the court decision, but it was the same court decision that TMX was delayed by, and
Right.
The government was able to solve that consultation problem, and we thought the government was going to step forward and solve the consultation problem on Northern Gateway, and we'd be able to proceed again.
Right.
Of course, Trudeau knew that, so he canceled the project just on his own summarily as a political position.
And when you say you had 31 of 40 First Nations communities on board, are you talking about both in Alberta and in British Columbia?
That's correct.
Okay. And tell me about, I mean, you've just outlined some of, what was lost with Northern Gateway. How would this new pipeline contribute to economic reconciliation with First Nations communities? I mean, are those 31 communities, do you expect them to still be on board? Do you expect the rewards to be the same as they would have been with the Northern Gateway?
Well, I think the awards are going to be a lot better. I mean, the ESG guidelines that have been started in 2008 have advanced incredibly. The communities now have access to equity positions, which was, a new and unfounded sort of benefit in the past. Now it's become, normalized, and I believe that once the province gets consultation and engagement with these First Nations, she's going to be surprised at the amount of support that they're going to get, because people want to participate in the prosperity of natural resource development that's been going on in this country for 150 years. Some $17 trillion in resources have been taken from the lands, and First Nations have never been a part of it. And now the chiefs and leaders and community members want to be a part of it, want to be part of the even the new clean energy transition, that sort of thing. And I believe it's a new part of what's going on in society, and we don't want to be seen not to be part of it.
Marilyn Slett is the president of the Coastal First Nations Great Bear Initiative and the elected chief of the Hiltzik Tribal Council. And she spoke with CBC News recently about their opposition to the pipeline. I want you to hear what she says, because she says the project would devastate the ecosystem along the northern coast, and pointed to a 2016 spill as an example. Just have a listen.
And it also happened in an area that was very, very important to harvesting all different types of seafood for our community. And it has not recovered, to this day. So we've seen, what the impacts can be, on that scale. And, if we put in a major, oil crude tanker, it would devastate. It would absolutely destroy and devastate, the coast.
So that's Marilyn Slett, president of the Coastal First Nations Great Bear Initiative and the elected chief of the Hiltzik Tribal Council. What do you make of those comments?
Well, we respect her concerns and her fear and the risk that exists among oil tanker transportation and so forth. But you got to remember the risk is minimal. In the 70s, it was, evidence, and it was a real concern. But during the past 50 years, there hasn't been an oil tanker spill in the world. She's talking about a spill that was created by a tugboat.
Yeah.
And all the tugboats in this project would be electric. So there wouldn't be anything to be concerned about support vehicles. And the tankers are now double hulled. There's minimal risk of failure. I mean, Douglas Channel is the widest, deepest, safest inlet or channel on the West Coast. So I always say to leaders that what you have to do is you got to meet with the proponents and understand the project. The NGOs during the time that I was on Northern Gateway tried to get chiefs not to meet with the proponent, and it's important to do that because I've always said once you start to meet with them and start to realize that these are proponents are Canadians, engineers and technicians who want to save the environment. They want to be able to spend a lot of money and resources on integrity and safety systems and environmental protection plans. I mean, Northern Gateway was going to spend over $700 million over 30 years on the marine environmental protection plan and the coastal environmental protection plan, which included an advanced system for emergency response and so forth, especially in the marine environment. So everything was going to be protected. And with this project, of course, they're going to have full ownership, at least 51% ownership in the project, which is what we're proposing. And that'll include seats on the board in managing and making sure the operations go safely. They'll have access to monitoring systems on the environmental protection plans, both on the terrestrial pipeline as well as the marine and coastal environments. So everybody's talking about it. The 31 communities that were signed on before have been calling me and saying, when are we going to get started? Let's get this thing going. And I believe there's an appetite in Canada to have this built because we send 99% of our oil to the United States at a reduced cost. And I know that a Northern Gateway pipeline is going to be the answer to be able to get us diversified and get us something in the international market. And everybody's going to be wanting to be on this pipeline because you get $10 more because of the Brent prices, international prices that exist out there. And it's going to be a windfall for financial windfall for the communities along the right of way and to the terminal host. You got to remember Chief Ellis Ross was the chief of Haisla back then, and he's a big supporter of a project like Northern Gateway right now.
The Pembina Institute, which is a clean energy think tank, says that the Alberta government is overstating the benefits here and it's glossing over the risks. I mean, the risk of a spill is one thing, but what about, the concerns about climate change and about the burning of yet more fossil fuels? I mean, if you're going to build a pipeline, this is something that's going to be carrying oil for, decades, the better part of a century, really.
Yes, and we know that in a perfect world, we'd like to be able to get off fossil fuels, but that's not going to happen in the near future. Once there's a sustainable green energy transition, once there's a sustainable green energy system that is invented, because wind and solar is not going to do it for us, especially in a cold climate in Canada. I mean, come on, get real. We have to ensure that our prosperity is still up at a level so we can afford to do that. And if we don't, take on the oil and gas demand that's out there, the international market's going to take it on themselves, and we're going to lose. I mean, our economic environment right now is terrible. So many people out of work. I mean, you're talking First Nation people that worked in the oil and gas industry that are getting laid off, professionals, engineers, technicians that are moving to the United States. We got to get them back. We got to tell them that we're going to do this sort of thing. The Pathways Alliance project, which is being financed by the Big Six in the oil sands, is something that's going to be incredibly, a face-changing project for all of Alberta and Canada. And it's going to reduce the amount of emissions that come from the oil sands.
Dale, we're going to have to leave it there this morning for time. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time.
You bet. Thank you.
All right, you take care. That's Dale Swampy, the founder and president of the National Coalition of Chiefs. That's a First Nations group in favor of oil and gas development.